Hey, welcome to another episode of Vision's Workout from Home. Season 3, episode number 8. So today we're going to talk about squats, how you can do it safe and sound, some of the how you can do it more efficient, some variation, and also how to fix your form, some common mistakes we always see. Right? So what do you need in this episode? You can use any of the equipment. I will show you the variation. Then you pick any item that you want, household item, and you just try to squat, and that's it, right? So before maybe we start, we just say what makes a good squat. What makes a good squat is a squat that's deep. That means it's not half. Your hips should be below your knees for most people, and you should be able to feel on your thigh, your butt, and also a bit of your core. Do this properly, you should not only be able to get leg strength, you should be able to, in the long run, being stronger and more pain-free the knees, right? So you give this a shot, try, and see how this plays out, right? So the camera is a bit limited with the angle, so I'm going to show you how it's done. So squats, basically there is two versions. It's either something what we call a front squat, where the object is in front of you, or it's on the back squat where it's behind you. So it's something like this, behind you, right? So the item you can use, I will use a bag, right? One is a school bag, one is a backpack, another one is luggage bag, just to keep things simple, right? One for a back squat, one for a front squat. But before we start, maybe I share with you how you can get to the stance that you want here. Right, and also some modification if you find squats are very hard for you, right? But more on that on the end, right? So before you diagnose yourself and say you cannot squat, just do the following. Okay, you guys should be able to see. I want you to stand straight. Place your feet to your shoulder width, so around your shoulder width, right? Place a bit wide. Now your feet, I know the camera is not very good. Your feet, you move like a clock, say 11 and 1 o'clock. Let's say if 12 o'clock is straight, right? You move 11 or 1 o'clock. Or you may try 10 to 2 o'clock. Most people will be around there. I wouldn't recommend you to go 3 and 9 o'clock and anything more than that, right? So just make sure either you're 11 to 1 o'clock or 2 to 10 o'clock. I suggest you start 11 from 1 o'clock. So again, you stand straight. Place your feet to your shoulder width. Go a little bit wider if you are a larger individual. Place your feet 11 to 1 o'clock. Place your hand at the center. When you go down, the elbow should be touching at the middle of the thigh. Meaning, it will look something like this. Okay? So you'll be sitting in between. So from the side view, just to show you guys that, when you go down, you want to make sure your elbow is touching your thigh, so you look something like this. Okay? Most people should be able to, right? So if you stay here, I know it's not very comfortable, but if you do it properly, you should be able to go a deep squat. Okay? Suggestion, when you think of squat, don't just think of going down. Think about trying to sit in between your knees, right? So when you go down, like sit in between your legs. So imagine there's a chair, try to sit in between your legs, right? So your knee will have to go out. That's perfectly fine, right? So you might hear some people will tell you a myth where your knees should not go forward. You know, if your knee go forward, it's bad for your knees. If your intention is to, the intention at first, this notion comes from the intention where they don't want you to put all the pressure on the knee. But if you are not putting pressure on the knee, you can actually still squat very deep, knees going forward, and you can still do it pain-free. Okay? So I will show an angle just to prove you guys that hey, it's doable, alright? So I just let you guys see now. You look at my feet, so just now we talked about 11 or 1 o'clock, right? Okay, when I squat later, you will see for my case, because my legs are quite long also, you notice my knees will go forward. See, my knee will pass my toe. But as you can see in the video, there is no problem. I don't feel any pain, and there's no issue, right? The only issue if you ever feel pain is because you shift your entire heels up. So you see my heels are up. If your heels is up, you obviously will feel on the knee. But if your entire feet is planted to the floor, you won't feel anything on the knee, right? So let's clear. So we managed to clear some of this misconception where people say the knee going past forward is dangerous. 9 out of 10 people who say like this, either they themselves don't know how to squat, or they're just making things up, right? So you just need to understand knee going forward is actually fine, but that doesn't mean you should put all the pressure on the knee, right? So just want to let you know the difference, okay? So as long as your feet is planted to the floor, you open up your legs, your knees going out, so you got space to sit in between your legs. That is how you do a deep squat, okay? So once you learn how to squat, the next one we talk about is breathing. Now going up and down is good, but we want to learn how to breathe properly, alright? Breathing, if you do properly, you make the movement easier. I prefer the word efficient. The more efficient you are, you can do more squats. When you can do more squats, you can make your legs stronger, right? So here is how you do, right? So what do you do about breathing? Number one, don't breathe into the chest. Breathe into your belly. So take a nice big breath, put a lot of air in the belly. We call this bracing, okay? Air in the belly, bracing, okay? It's like forming a wall like that, not just on the center, on the side as well. So take a nice big breath, air in the belly, hold the breath. When you're ready, sit in between your legs. When you finish, you then breathe out, okay? I repeat again, yeah? You take a nice big breath, hold the breath. When you finish, only breathe out, okay? So I will do an example of 3 repetitions or 3 reps, so you guys have an idea how to do it, yeah? Okay? You may turn the audio higher a bit so you can listen the breathing. Last one. So that is how you learn how to squat, okay? That is how you squat. So for the side view again, I just do a repetition of 3 count. And the belly. Okay? Last one. Down control. Up. Fast. Breathe out. Okay? To learn a good squat, unfortunately, watching this video alone will not help. Ultimately, you still need to practice. The more you practice it, then you'll be better at it, right? If you can, I also wish people just watch a video and you can squat. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of adjustment you need to do, right? So based on everyone's capability also, long leg, short leg, mobility, flexibility, history, those are going to dictate a lot as well, right? So also, now when we talk about breathing, we talk about how to squat. Now what do we do with our upper body? Whatever you do, keep your upper body neutral. I always see that people who say your upper body must arch a little bit. That's not necessarily the case. Of course, vice versa, we don't want to round the back. So this is called rounding. You don't want to round the back, either you want to arch your back. Just keep your back straight. Okay? And it's okay to lean forward. So meaning, right, ideally we want all our body up like this straight. But if you lean forward a bit, that's fine. For someone who has long leg and a short torso, we will go very forward. And that is perfectly fine. So as you can see, I'm actually quite forward. But that I have to work with what I can. Alright? So don't set impossible standards where one must be straight. If you can be straight, that's good. But if you have to lean forward a little bit, that is fine. Whatever you do, make sure your back is not rounding or overarching. That's all. Okay? So I do a recap here. You want to stand straight. Place your feet around your shoulder width. A little bit wider if you're a larger individual or longer legs. Take a nice big breath, air in the belly. And sit in between in your legs. When you finish, breathe out. So I repeat from this angle here. Same, you want to stand straight. Keep your feet around your shoulder width. Take a nice big breath. And the belly. Sit in between your legs. Up. Breathe out. Just like this. I hope you keep watching the video over and over again after this episode so that you can keep learning and learning. Alright? So, what makes a good squat? Number one is to go deep. Okay? So, now that we have talked about how to squat, there is two variations of squatting. One is in front, one is at the back. What are the difference between a front squat and a back squat? To be frank, if your goal is to be stronger, build some muscle, don't worry about front or back, whichever you prefer, you can just go with it. But for most people, the back squat will be easier to handle. Because if you put everything on the front, let's say if you have a load in front, sometimes you feel the load is very heavy or you feel like going forward, right? Or sometimes your shoulder is a bit limited, you're not very mobile. Let's say if your hand is lifting like this for a long run is a challenge. It's hard for you to keep the object upright, okay? So you can choose a back or a front one. There is no right or wrong. I think it's not fair to compare which one is better. It's just see it as another tool in the toolbox. Especially if you're watching this video, you are some sort of beginner. I don't think you need to think so much whether the back squat or front squat is okay for you. Whichever you prefer, stick to it. Rather, keep practicing on the back. Okay? So I'm going to demo one using the front squat first. So give me a while. Let me just change the item here. Let me bring the item over. Okay? Right. So using the luggage for example, the front squat, right? So it's the same thing. Okay? Let me just move up the camera so you guys can have a look on the yeah. So hope you guys can see. So when you hold the luggage, for example, right? There's two ways. You can either hold like this, the load is on top, or you can carry it like this. Okay? Whatever you do, make sure your body is as upright as you can. Leaning forward a bit is fine, but don't go too forward like this. If you feel like keep falling forward, something is wrong. So, showing you guys how to hold, just holding only. So you just hold, as you can see in the video, you can hold like this. Some people like to hug like it's like a strongman style like this, like the endless stone, no problem. Some people like to hold like this, no problem. To be frank, it doesn't really matter if you're using household item. Most important, as long as you're comfortable and you can hold this for the next 2 or 3 sets, you should be fine. Okay, so the front squat, so you find the position is in front of you, not at the back. I will show the back one shortly here. Okay, so now that you find your front squat, you pick up the item already, you know how to squat. The next thing you want to do is to squat. Right? So you pick up this item, put it around, grab around this area. You know you guys can see or not. So the rest of the movement is exactly the same. Take a nice big breath, and the belly sit in between. 1. A nice big breath, and the belly. 2. Last one. Take a nice big breath, and the belly sit in between your legs. 3. Okay, so that is how you do a front squat. Okay, maybe I'll show you guys from the center view so you guys can have another look as well. Okay, like I said, if you want to keep practicing and practicing, then you'll be better at it. So take a nice big breath, sit between your legs, up. 1. Remember, I want a deep squat here. Big breath, chest up. 2. Okay, last one, a nice big breath, and the belly. Sit between your legs. Up. Okay? That's it. So that is how you do a front squat. Alright, now we talk about the front squat. Next, we're going to talk we're going to show how to do the back squat. So just give me a minute. Let me just change the item here. Okay? So if you guys want to know more about how to do the movement, obviously you can look back at my YouTube channel where I put like a lot of household items you can use to do any variation of leg. But this one is just purely on squat. If you want to know more, or you want to learn your personalized way to squat, you can just, after this show, you can just send me a video, whether it's WhatsApp or the Facebook Messenger or email if you want to. Just share your stance. You can share with me so I can do a form check for you, and for free. I'm not charging you anything. I just want to get people how to squat pain-free. That's all. Okay, pain-free and also movable lah. Alright. So the next one is the back squat. So the back squat is more straightforward lah. Right. So I'm going to move the camera a bit. Give me some time here. Alright, cool. So as you can see in the video, you are carrying the backpack. Okay. So how are you going to hold the bag? You can grab around here, or if you want to mimic like a back squat, you can actually hold it on top. Okay, you hold it on top like this. If you guys have a broom or anything. But I think for most people, you just hold your backpack like you're going to do a parachute jump like that. So you hold it here, and then the rest of the movement is same. Okay. Now for the front squat. Okay. Now from the front squat, we are holding in front. This is holding to the back. The front squat, usually we just go all the way down, right? As for the squat, back squat, you want to sit your hips back a little bit. So feet up, hips back a little bit. Okay? So when you start, shift your hips back and slowly sit in between your legs. Up. One. Okay? Take a nice big breath and the belly. Hips back and sit in between. For most beginner, you want to start from sitting your hips back a little bit. That's going to help you. If not, every time you go down, the heels will come up. This is one thing I notice a lot from beginners. So if you want to try, just start a small habit, sit your hips back a bit, and sit in between your legs. That's how you squat. Okay? So now that I show you how to squat, we have done the back squat, we have done the front squat. Here are some variation. Let's say if you really have a knee problem, but before that, this big disclaimer, I am not a physiotherapist or a physician. Yeah? You want to consult with them first, right? Me, I'm just giving you exercise, how to work around your pain, right? So let's say for some weird reason, you squat, you just can't go all the way deep. I wouldn't recommend you to do a half squat, meaning like this. Okay? You do a half squat in the long run, you are going to feel even more painful on the knee. Besides, I always ask people this question. If you have pain on the knee because you squat deep, so as the pain keeps worse and worse, are you going to squat from a quarter to 1/6 and then go to 1/8? You might as well don't squat that, right? So what you want to do is find a way that you can replicate the squat as deep as you can, but pain-free. Okay? So how can you do it? The answer is very simple. You can take any household item. You may use a chair, you may use a stool, and progress from there. Right? So I'm going to show you guys. We are using a stool here, so you guys can see there's a stool here. So here's what you do. Let's pretend for some reason I'm not able to squat deep here. So you may start from a stool. Actually, to be frank, this stool I have is very tall. If you can, find something that is lower than this stool, alright? Maybe around this height, half of the height also can, no problem. So let's say you want to squat, right? But you can't squat. So find the same stance, feet forward, and try to sit back and up. Okay? Just a small step. Just try to touch and up. Okay? Just start small like this. Sit back, up, sit back, up, sit back, up. Just simple movements like this. Okay? And then if you can progress, move the seat lower and lower, or move the seat further and further. So before it was like this, right? You sit all the way back, right? Maybe you shift the chair back already, right? So you can try this instead. Like want to touch, but haven't touched. Just like this. Give you some confidence. Hold there for a while, up. Sit back a bit, hold there, up. So you can try all these variation. Some people in the gym will call this a box squat. In this case, I would say it's a chair squat lah. So you can use any leverage that you prefer or is more suitable for you and work from there. Okay? As always, work on what you can, don't work on what you can't. Alright, and last but not least, as always, please consult your physician, physiotherapist, or any specialist. Should you really have severe knee pain, this is not to solve your knee problem. This is more like working around with the problem. Okay, so this is not a special magic trick or anything. You can work from there. Let's say granny who is 70-year-old, she wants to get her leg moving. Maybe you can try this box squat just for a start. Or you can start on the sofa, remove the seat, use the frame, find a small stool, work from there, and slowly progress from time to time. So that is how you get stronger and see some changes. Right? So this is okay. This is fine. Now, before I end, I want to show you guys some of the common mistakes where people will, where usually most people will make. Alright? So these are some of the common mistakes and how to fix them as well. Alright? Number one is not going deep enough. So I think we talked about earlier a bit just now. What makes a good squat is that you learn how to squat deep. Okay? So how do you squat deep is I already showed just now where you stand tall, sit your feet wide apart, and then sit in between your legs. So half squat means they will do something like this. Okay? Yeah, the favorite one, the classic. This is the classic I cannot squat stand. Okay? So don't do that. Okay? Are you really even training if you're doing that? Alright? So understand you squat deep, that's good. How you should do a proper way, assuming you're doing this, you should still somewhat go as deep as you can. Okay? And up. Right? Instead of doing this half rep thing, but besides if you keep doing half rep, there's more pressure on the knee. It's actually, if anything but if you squat half, it's worse than, I would say it's worse than not doing the squat at all. Because you keep having all the knee problem there, alright? So speaking of knee problem, you can go back to last season where I talked about one episode about if you got knee problem and how you can work around it. If the thumbnail below something like this, right, go and find the thumbnail, and you should be able to watch. So the common mistake number one is not going deep enough. Mistake number two, no breathing is a combo lah. Number one, there's no breathing. Number two, no control at the bottom, meaning they'll just dive bomb all the way down. So you see, there's no breathing and shoot all the way down. See, okay? So if you're doing like this, just sit, dive bomb like that. Number one, you're not trained, you're missing a lot of portion. If your goal is to build muscle, top to finish, you should feel something. So you just dive all the way down, you may not be able to feel the bottom part of the butt and a little bit of hamstring. So you're missing a lot of fun there. Number two, if you dive bomb all the way down, you cannot control. When you cannot control, you are very loose. When you are very loose, your knees will be also wobbly. When your knees are wobbly, usually that's where your knees start to trigger and feel pain. So to prevent that, make sure how you can fix it is to take a nice big breath air in the belly and sit in between in your legs, slow and control, but up as fast as you can. No issue, right? Again, yeah, take a nice big breath, air in the belly, sit in between your legs, and up, breathe out. Okay? That is how you do. So mistake number one, not deep enough. Mistake number two, no control, and bounce around. Mistake number three, I'm going to move the camera a bit because this one is quite crucial. I believe, I'm sorry to say, a lot of people are missing out this one. Okay, you guys can see. This is more on the feet, alright? So the common mistake number three is the heels keep going forward. Okay, so here's what you see the problem. When they squat like this. Okay, so if you do like this, all the pressure will go in front. That is where the notion of bad for your knees come from. Because you keep going forward, you keep feeling on your knee. So how do you fix this problem? Unfortunately, it's not a cookie cutter for everyone, but you can always still find the answer. So you go back to that position, right? And you go down, the squat position, legs wide, 11, 1 o'clock, or 10, 2 o'clock, and sit all the way down. When you're at the bottom, I want you to rest a while. You will notice your feet will be all planted on the floor. Your heels, your toes, the center of the foot is all pressed. So you notice your heels will not come up. That is your position. So you when you go down later, slowly down and find the position. Let's say if your feet is like this, so you keep going forward. So what you do, you find back your stance, the one that you are there for the few seconds ago, and then up. So this is how you learn how to squat properly. Okay? This one, unfortunately, a lot of people are doing it wrong. Sometimes even I get it wrong. I should press my entire feet and don't lean forward too much, also can be a factor. There's a lot of reasons, but if you're a beginner, chances are it's because you are not squatting according to your stance. That's why I always emphasize you stand straight, feet apart, and try to sit in between your legs. These are good indicators to start with where and how you should squat. Adjust accordingly if your heels are coming up, the knees are going forward, or you feel a lot of pain on the knee. You really want to try to adjust accordingly. Okay? So I guess that's it. This is a recap of this is the sharing of today's exercise, which is on the squat. Okay, so I hope you guys enjoy this. I hope this is at least beneficial. My goal is very simple. Let me just move the camera here. Okay. Alright. Okay. So like I always say, my goal is very simple. My goal is as long as someone can benefit from this video, I consider it job done already. I don't need likes. I don't need views. You think someone can help, share to them. I can archive it. You may save this. When you go to my YouTube video, YouTube channel, just type Mission Tuam. You should be able to see a whole list of stuff. Whichever you think is applicable, just go to it and you can relearn and watch again. Right? So squat, gentle reminder, is not bad for your knees. It's only bad if you do it wrong. Alright? It's like knife. Use the knife wrongly, you cut your own hand. Use the knife correctly, you can cut vegetables or fish or food, right? It's the same thing. So make sure you do it properly, do it safe and sound. If you are unsure, feel free to ask me. Send me a video of your squat, so I'm going to assess. I say I'm going to keep it P and C between us. I will not share it out unless only if you allow. Alright? So I guess that's it. Once again, thank you for joining with me. Once again on Mission, and I'll catch you on next week. Alright, so next week we're going to try to share something, is it true or myth, and then we'll see on how this takes place. Alright, so thank you so much. Catch you on a good day. Bye bye.